thought as a way to begin to understand this, I would ask William Bell, who was here at the very early days of Stax and wrote one of the early hits, You Don't Miss Your Water Till Your Well Runs Dry.
Yes.
If you could talk, William, about how you came to write that song and what you learned about the publishing business.
You Don't Miss Your Water. I was involved in that as the writer and the artist. I came to Stax early on in my career. I had a doo-wop group that sang around Memphis called the Del Rios. And I was asked by Chips Moorman, who was a production guy at Stax at the time, if I could do, my group and I could do the backup work behind Carla Thomas's Gee Whiz. And of course, we did, and Jim liked our sound, Mrs. Axton liked our sound, and we were signed to Stax Records. But after a couple of releases as the group, I became a solo artist. I was traveling because a couple of the groups were inducted into the military. We had the draft at that time. And they were inducted into the military, so that left me and Louis Williams as a duo, and he went on to form another group. So I went on the road as a solo with the Phineas Newborn Orchestra during the summer. And missing home, missing the girlfriend and all of that, I'm sitting one Sunday night in a hotel room and it's storming outside. And I'm really feeling down, and I wrote, You Don't Miss Your Water. So when I came back, I ran into Chips, and he said, are you ready to do a solo project? And of course, at that time, I didn't really realize if I wanted to do one or not, but he kept after me, and I agreed to do it. So I came in, and I demoed You Don't Miss Your Water. We had one keyboard player on it, and he just couldn't get the feel right. So they called in Rufus Thomas's son, Marvell Thomas, into this particular studio. And Marvell sat down and arranged an intro for the piano, because I was right out of church and it was really gospel-y sounding. So we cut You Don't Miss Your Water. After we got it cut, we presented it to Jim, and he thought that maybe it's a little too much like a church song. Well, that's where I came from. So, Mrs. Axton, God rest her soul, she prevailed and twisted Jim's arm and said, we need to put this out. This is a hit record. And of course, between Mrs. Axton and Chips, because I didn't realize at the time whether I wanted to do it or not. I'm just a neighborhood kid. And they decided to put it out. It came out in, I think, November of '61, and nothing happened, so I'm preparing to go to college at the first of the year of '62. But as luck would have it, I get a call from New Orleans, of all places, and my record was number one. Wow. So as a young kid, I'm saying, well, I can go back to college at any time. Let me go make the money. Needless to say, I went out, I made the money, and after about 6 months out on the road, I got a call from my mom. I was at the Apollo Theater in New York, and she caught up with me and said, you have a greetings. And it was Uncle Sam. So, and when I came home, I'm gonna make this short. I went down to the draft board, and I was already 2 weeks late. So I went into another room. The desk sergeant said, "Step over here, young man," and I did. Raise your right hand with 2 or 3 other guys, and he says, repeat after me, and I did. And then after all of the stuff was over, I said, I want to talk to somebody about getting a little deferment so that I can do these dates and everything. And I can't tell you what he said. But he informed me that I was a part of the U.S. Army at that point. So anyway, that's how You Don't Miss Your Water came about. That's what you asked me, right?
And then talk about what you learned about publishing from that song.
At that time, we were neighborhood kids, and we didn't really know anything about publishing. So when we signed with Stax, everything was all inclusive in the recording contract. You signed as an artist, the publishers, the writers, and all that was inclusive within the contract. I didn't know anything about publishing, but while I was on the road doing performances, I happened to run into my hero, which was Sam Cooke. And one night backstage, he informed me that you can make money with publishing. What? And production. What? So I looked into it, and I found out you could make money off. Actually, publishing makes you the most money because everything comes out of the artist royalties, the sessions, and whatever advancements that you make. Any expenses is out of the artist royalties. Publishing is mailbox money, it's clear money. So that taught me a lesson, and after the first 5 years was up, I went to Jim and Al Bell at the time had joined us, and I told them we need to restructure the contract. And they didn't really like it that much, but they were open to me, and they said, okay, so you want to do split publishing? Well, I figured half publishing is better than no publishing at all, and they had given me the opportunity to record, so I split publishing with myself after the second, with the next 5 years, which was the 10-year period. So, but I did find out that you can make a lot of money. As Robert said, if somebody cut your song, and we had Sweetheart of the Rodeo cut it, and 2 or 3 other country acts cut You Don't Miss Your Water, but I only got songwriters' royalties on it. I didn't get any of the publishing. So East Memphis had the publishing. But after the second 5 years, I did get half of the publishing.
Okay.